yes. Excellent. Entonces, we are going to analyze how to provide feedback in writing and speaking, okay? So let's start with writing. These are the standards used by Cambridge when they are going to evaluate or when they are going to assess candidates, main suite candidates, in pieces of writing, okay? For the teachers who also work in elementary school, we have, can be public or private. For younger learners, the standards are different. Younger learners only have pre-A1, A1, and A2. Those are younger learners. And in those exams, that sometimes in some states, for example, in Estado de Mexico, in secondary, in first grade, or even third grade, depending on the level, the educational authorities decide that these guys in secondary take younger learners because of the format. Although it is A2 and key, that is main suite, is A2 as well, the way the exercises are presented are friendlier in YLE than in main suite. In main suite, they have more texts, it is black and white, and the difficulty of the exercises is a little bit higher. On the other side, when we are talking about flyers, for example, which is YLE, pues is very guided. Yes, they have readings, though they are about 3 or 4 paragraphs. They have to answer some questions. They need to solve some exercises, and that exam includes reading and writing. They don't have to spare papers. In main suite, they do. They have the reading and the writing. And for example, in key, no es cierto, in PET, they have their reading and 30 minutes for the writing, and they are to separate or spare papers. Entonces, depending on the level, the management of the exams in the case of Cambridge are different, okay? But in general, for main suite, that is A2, B1, B2, C1, and C2, this is what they ask the students to fulfill. The candidate answered the task, they done what they were asked to do. So, remembering or recalling that session we have in module 1 about writing, one of the aspects I told you that was important to take into account was task achievement. In this case, it is related to the content. Then communicative achievement, the writing is appropriate for the task. The candidate used a style which is appropriate for the specific communicative context. The writing is appropriate for the target language. Entonces, if they are going to write, for example, they are asked to write a formal paper like a proposal, like a book review, or something like that, they need to use a higher level of English. Just please give me a minute. Okay. And in some cases, in key, for example, they need to write messages for friends, they need to send emails to a friend and things like that. Entonces, in this case, pues the target reader is someone familiar, so the language is going to be very informal. In here, the writing is put together well, it is logical and ordered. Since they are very basics, we need to help our students to recognize each element in a sentence. And then after writing sentences, after having this practice, we can help them to start making and designing paragraphs. It can be through or by using graphic organizers. So it is very, very guided. And then get rid of the graphic organizer. So in this case, the production of a piece of writing can be from very controlled practice to the freer. And as well, share with them the specific characteristics and the different kind of vocabulary they need to use, for example, when writing different types of paragraphs. And in here, there is a good range of vocabulary and grammar. They are used accurately. This is related to language. So remember, each level has an ideal range of vocabulary and grammar. I share with you an Excel, and in there you have all the lexical groups, and you have the grammatical structures per level. So is what they are expected to do. Remember that we need to go to the previous one. So those are the assumptions we may have from our students, from the previous level. Yes, and depending on what you need or in what term they are, pues more or less make the calculation and know how much vocabulary and how many grammatical structures they are able to use, okay? So in general, they have 1, 2, 3, 4 elements, which are very similar to the ones we analyzed in module 1. And you can provide, depending on your criteria, depending on the necessities of your groups, you can use these ones, adapt them. I'm going to share with you also the standards used by the school and the institute that evaluated the pieces of writing you analyzed. Okay, so this is just Cambridge in terms of writing. So before we start, I would like you to tell me, what do you think about the pieces of writing? How did you find them? Did you find it easy, difficult, challenging to more or less understand or to infer the task? What were the possible elements? If they were your students, what would you tell them? Tell me, how did you feel? How did you find them?
Well, I'm gonna open my microphone and start.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I read the 3. The second one, I found it difficult to read because of the handwriting. And I don't know if I'm wrong or right, but I did this evaluation that you asked us to do to say which one was low, medium, and advanced. So I think the first one, well, the second one I think is the one that's in the middle, but I didn't clearly understand all of the words, but that was because of the writing. So for me, the first one, I think that's the low one. And in my opinion, the third one is the highly efficient because of the usage of grammar and vocabulary and how they talk about the topic. Well, I think for all of us, well, we should have it identify the task and the topic. And well, I didn't have only, I didn't have problems with the first one and the last one, but just the second one. I am kind of thinking that's the one that has medium level, but
Mhm,
some of the
mhm.
words were difficult for me to understand. But I'm not very good at reading that type of handwriting. So
Okay.
in my opinion, for example, in the first one, I wrote some notes. I think that's the one that's the low one. So I use the usage of limited vocabulary, simple
Okay.
grammar.
Although they are native speakers, they
Uh-huh.
show different levels, no?
Yes, for their age,
Okay.
because those are high school, right?
Exactly.
Yes,
Yes.
and for example, in the first one, I noticed that it constantly repeats some phrases, and the second one was really hard to me. So that was my main note, the handwriting. And well, I was going through to the reading. Well, those are about facts, and well, the second one was about reality TV, and I really found it very difficult. I mean, I was like really trying to identify which were the words, but some of them I couldn't. And well,
Okay.
in the third one, I liked that uh, the topic. I mean, the how was used the topic of the instant messaging to talk about it as a fact. And I think that the grammatical structures were like sophisticated to me, and the use of vocabulary too. And I like how that reading was structured.
Okay. Excellent, Miss Olivia. Thank you
Thank you
very much. No, thank you.
too.
A ver, teacher Jorge says, they were very interesting in general. I like the style and the ideas. Okay. A ver, teacher Jorge, tell me if you can open your microphone or in the chat, as you wish. Please tell me, in general, if they were your students, what would you tell them? And while the teacher Jorge is answering in the chat, I would like to ask you, do you consider that also the penmanship is important? I mean, the handwriting? Because remember that the main objective when we are teaching or learning a second language is being able to communicate. And communication can be oral or can be written. Mhm. In this case, they are communicating, they are transmitting ideas through a piece of writing. And if they do something like this also, although I'm very familiar with this type of handwriting, for me, if she were my student or he, le diría, ¿sabes qué chulo? O sea, ¿qué onda con tu letra? The handwriting and the tidiness, ¿no? And
Yes,
I
I
know
will
that,
ask
yes,
to do a document in the computer.
yes, yes. And let me tell you something. Yesterday I was in my class in the university, and one of the teachers who is a coordinator in a high school, she said something really, really important, and we should be conscious about that. Remember, and probably that's the answer for this piece of writing. Maybe I'm not justifying the student, but that could be a possible answer. They spent almost 3 years having classes online. And what they needed to do is to type. They didn't need to write on paper most of the time. Mhm. So if you stop, you analyze the example in yourself. When you stop using pen and paper and you just use the computer to write, you cannot trace the letter properly, even your hand hurts. So imagine retaking the habit of writing on paper. It may be also difficult to them to get used to what they were doing 2 or almost 3 years ago. It's not justifying the students, but maybe if we are detecting this problem and as a way of or as a part of the possible problems and solutions we may have in the class, pues maybe we should start by practicing little by little or combining, or as Miss Olivia said, no, pues type it, no, because in real life, if they hand in something like this, at least for Cambridge, if the examiner who checks writings decides that it's not readable, legible, the candidate is disqualified. Entonces, probably, if we detect that this is a main problem in our class, maybe we should ask them to improve this aspect and take it into account when we are evaluating. Because, for example, observe this, the biggest spaces. She lives or he lives. I think that is a he. Yo digo que es un he, pero
Actually, I thought it was a draft. I said, so maybe this is not like the final job to deliver.
Pues it looks like, even for me, that I'm used to this handwriting was very difficult. There were phrases, complete sentences that I couldn't understand at all.
Yeah, that happened to me too.
Entonces, probably
no, I don't know what it says.
Yes, so probably it's something that we should let our students know that for us is very important, or for them is very important in order to communicate with others to have a clear handwriting, no? A ver, teacher Jorge says, I would tell them to improve some sentences in the way they were done. Only some grammatical errors, but very minimum. Regarding to the handwriting, I agree, it's difficult to read some of them. I prefer the students to do it in a word processor, pues sí, just to polish some of the ideas and sentences in general. Ay, muy bien, teacher Jorge. Excellent. Yes. Okay. And the third one, pues I think that is the most structured. This girl, I think it's a girl because of the handwriting. Is very structured. She has the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. Pues yes, as Miss Olivia said, the first one is medium low. O sea, entre low, medium low, y super low. Okay, it's in the middle. So the ideas involved are the standards used by the institution to evaluate the students. So more or less we can consider or read and know what they are looking for in their students to evaluate their pieces of writing. Remember that these are native students. This is the first language. So maybe, probably because of this, they are a little bit more demanding. But I consider that, pues, we can start by using some of them with very basic students, and little by little, as they advance, pues, start increasing the elements we are going to take into consideration. For example, ideas and content. The reader can easily understand the main ideas because they were very simple. is his writing is regarding to the topic. Although developmental teachers are out of balance with the main idea, relevant details. What they needed to do is to common facts or trend in music, clothing, and recreation come and go. Choose one fad or trend that is popular now and explain why it is popular and if you think its popularity will last. Okay, so it was very simple. Then in organization, pues is clear and coherent, clear sequence and paragraphing breaks. The beginning and conclusion, pues they are not particularly inviting. When they are writing these pieces of essays or this kind of essays, we should remind our students that they should start with an introduction where they set the problem or the situation, or they can start setting a question. In the body, they are going to develop the topic, and in the conclusion part, which is the last part of the piece of writing, what they are going to do is to answer the question they stated at the beginning, or they are going to propose a solution for the problem they said, okay? Entonces, pues yes, the organization helps the reader. A voice is present, the writer seems committed to the topic, the writer is to be aware of the reader, is conscious. Probably in this case, pues, is the piece of writing is going to be read among classmates, no? So that's why maybe they are using this kind of very, as teacher Hector in the morning told me, as very urban and common for young people kind of writing, no? Okay, there is a sense of writing to be read, words effective message, a variety of words that are functional and appropriate to audience and purpose. Words do not particularly energize the writing. So in this aspect, yes, the piece of writing is a little bit low, okay? All right. The writing flow in the sentence fluency, the writing flows, however, connections between sentences are less than fluid. Sentence patterns are somewhat varied, strong control over simple sentence structures, but variable control over more complex sentences. Okay, was fluid in such a way that it seems as if this person was talking to you, no? For me, it was very easy to picture and imagine, to visualize what the kid was writing in this case, no? Because more than writing, he was narrating, no? So probably that's a strong point he has. And writing demonstrates limited control of the standard writing conventions. Remember that the sentence conventions is how we are going to structure the sentences and the paragraphs. Spelling errors of common words do not block meaning. They do distract the reader. Errors begin to impede readability and significant need for editing. Okay, entonces, pues, he has a 3. The maximum score they can get, I think, is a 6. Entonces, he's in the middle, in some points. Talking about the second one, the hieroglyphicos, we have writing is clear and focused. The reader can easily understand the main ideas. Si es que llega a descifrar los jeroglíficos. Supporting details are relevant, somewhat limited. Organization is clear and coherent. Order and structure are present. Developed beginning and conclusion. Organization helps the reader. In voice, the writer seems committed to the topic, and there is a sense of writing to be read. The writing is characterized by a suitable level of closeness to the audience and a sense of interaction. In word choice, words effectively convey the intended message. The writer employs a variety of words that are functional and appropriate to audience and purpose, do not particularly energize the writing. Sentence fluency, the writing flows, sentence patterns, and somewhat varied contributions to ease in oral reading. The reader can move easily through the piece. I don't agree with this. Probably I would say I cannot move easily through the piece of writing. What is the problem here? The handwriting is blocking, no, in my personal opinion. But ojo, in here, I'm talking about the sentence. So that's why it's very, very important to have the criteria very, very clear when we are evaluating. Porque what was the main comment between Miss Olivia and I? La letra, qué horror, qué espanto, bueno, esto y los espacios, no sé qué. Entonces, if we are just focused on that, probably the grade we are going to give to this student compared to this one is lower. We are focused on the form. But in this case, what we are evaluating is the content. Ojo con eso. The writing demonstrates control of standard conventions, minor errors, while perhaps noticeable, do not impede readability. What is the difference between readability and legibility? Because a piece of writing can be readable or legible. In this case, according to the feedback, this text, despite the handwriting,
is readable but not legible.
Exactly. It's readable because the structure is very well done. Acá es como de que le escribo un message a mi cuate, ¿no? But in here, they are properly writing an essay. Although it's not legible, la letra parece jeroglífico de los, bueno, ¿qué digo? De las cavernas. Ni siquiera los, ¿cómo se llama? Exactamente, Miss Vero. Entonces, aquí la legibility, pero estaría más que reprobado. Pero, again, I'm not evaluating the legibility. Los jeroglíficos no. Is the readability, the content. Okay? Entonces, it is something that we really need to take care of. Be very, very clear. That's why we say that writing is subjective. Because according to the discipline I have, depending on the standards I like establishing for my students, the standards I set for myself as a teacher, according to my experience, I know or I think that this should be the side. And I'm going to go straight forward this trail. And my opinion can be the opposite from Miss Olivia, or teacher Jorge, or Miss Vero, or la Miss Rosy. Entonces, to make an standard, to be fair with the students is best. Two, the best thing we can do is to have standards. And yes, the last one was is even longer, not necessarily because it's longer is best. Sometimes the least is best, no? Entonces, yes, this is a high level. And despite having a lot of 6, she gets a 5 in conventions, okay? In here, the writing is exceptionally clear, focused, and interesting, holding the reader's attention throughout. Relevant, carefully selected details provide a throughout balanced and in-depth explanation of the topic. Organization enhances the central idea and its development. Easy to follow. A strong, inviting beginning draws the reader in. Smooth, effective transitions. Details fit where placed, strong, satisfying. The writing demonstrates deep commitment to the topic, and there is an exceptional sense of writing to be read. The reader can discern the writer behind the words, a conviction, exceptional strong sense of audience. The writer employs a rich, broad range of words, which have been carefully chosen and thoughtfully placed for impact. Strong, specific, and powerful words energize the writing. Words that evoke strong images. Example, laps of lazy Americans. Even in the morning, also one of the teachers told me, es que at the beginning of the piece of writing, she's using metaphor. Entonces, when they are able to go beyond and to write a little bit more detailed, bueno, ya, exceeding the expectations, because in here is the management of the language, okay? Sentences show a high degree of craftsmanship, extensive variation in sentence structure, length, and beginnings that add interest to the text, varied sentence pattern, create an effective combination of power and grace. The writing demonstrates a strong control of standard writing conventions, and it uses them to enhance communication. Entonces, in here, the only problem was, as teacher Jorge said, he spotted the spelling mistakes, and a slightly wider range of conventions used could push the score to a 6. O sea que estaba ya rayando el 6, ¿no? Almost perfect, but there is still things that this candidate needs to improve.
Like almost perfect, but one little detail.
And probably you say, no, es que María José es buenísima. No, esta niña es fantástica. But
yes, if I had evaluated her, I would have given her the highest grade.
Exactly. But there are still some details that my students need to know in order to improve and step forward to the following level. Probably in the feedback, if I'm going to give her individual feedbacks, tell her it's valid. Mira, you managed to do like this. Your piece of writing has these scores. 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, you got a 5. What is next for you, or what you need to work on in the future is, or are the standards of the following level, no? Imagine that this is a B2. You need to work or start analyzing and considering the standards for C1. So I can push you and take you to the following level. Always like that. So students, on one hand, they feel motivated because they have something else to do. And on the other hand, what you can avoid is this attitude. Sometimes the students who are really, really good, sometimes they are like they love showing off, no? And they can tend to say, oh, es que todos muy bien lentos. Oh, ¿a poco no pueden, no? This kind of attitude. So it's always telling them and make them aware that there is always something to improve, okay? Entonces, these are just 3 pieces of paper. I have a document and they are like 10 different pieces of writing talking about the same topic, from the very, very super, very low to the non plus ultra XX al infinito y más allá. Entonces you can see exactly the progress from very, very low, medium low, or super low, medium low, low, intermediate low, y así hasta el non plus ultra 300, okay? And you have the feedback. And here the rich part for us would be checking the feedback and the standards. So we can, based on this, after having the whole panorama, what we can do is to come up with our own standards. Pues para Bexis me puede, I can use this one for intermediate and advanced. And even if I want to make this scaffolding and this adaptation that sometimes we are asked to do in the classroom, pues for me it's going to be easier, no? In terms of writing, okay? So I think that this exercise was really, really rich. I really liked using this exercise. I found it very, very interesting. And let me tell you that it was not so easy to find real pieces of writing. And when I found them, I was like, wow, this is gold. Okay, excellent. Entonces, ahora, what we are going to analyze now is the speaking activity. Yesterday, I uploaded a video. It was from a real class with real students, and the video was very long. So I just chose one of the thousands of activities the teacher had in this session, and I decided to use the find someone who, kind of find someone, no? Again, I'm going to share like the general standards from Cambridge. Those are the ones that I know, okay? So that's why I share Cambridge with you. This is for speaking, okay? As I told you, we have YLEs. The YLEs are the younger learners. See, they start from pre-A1, A1, and A2. Those are the 3 levels in speaking. Let me tell you that it's supposed that YLEs are from 6 years old to 12. But because of the level of English, some teenagers, 2nd grade of secondary and 3rd grade of secondary, are permitted to take these exams. The format is not very friendly with them because it's el clown, los balloons, y el perrito, y el gatito. Maybe it's a little bit childish. But what we are doing in there is that the kind of exercises for them are easier. For main suite, we have key for schools And key for adults, those are main suite. Those are for adults. And we have pets and first certificate for schools and the format for adults. What is the difference? For schools, the topics are related to things which are very common and familiar for teenagers and young people, no? Friends, going to the cinema, que la excursion, que la party, etc., etc. In main suite, the topic was rent a car, travel, visiting family and friends abroad, and things like that. So that's the only difference, the topics and the images, but the content is exactly the same, okay? Entonces, I have the standards or the can-dos, which are very similar to the ones I shared with you previously from the Common European Framework of Reference. That's the law, o sea, is the Bible. And Trinity, TOEFL, whatever, are aligned to those standards. Entonces, you know them, okay? In here, for example, let's check A1. Basic repertoire of words and simple phrases related to personal details and particular and concrete situations. In this case, the first element that I'm going to take into account for evaluating is vocabulary and grammar, okay? In this and in this. Control of a few simple grammatical structures. Luego, can manage very short, isolated, mainly pre-packed. Ese pre-packed es con a lot of prompting, utterances, with much pausing and search for expressions to articulate less familiar words and repair communication. In here is the management of the language. Is interaction, maybe. How can interact with the, in this case, for YLEs, is the candidate and the examiner. Or in the case of key, from key to the rest, are the two candidates, the interlocutor and the person who is observing, no? Luego, can ask and answer questions about personal details, can interact with in a very simple way, but communication is totally depending on repetition, rephrasing, and repair. So that means that they are going to be constantly having mistakes, and probably they will need to rephrase or remake the sentences and the phrases they are saying. Can link words or group of words with very basic linear connectors. These connectors are also part of the standards we use to evaluate. Entonces, for A1 and pre-A1 and then. In higher levels and but because, and in the rest of the levels, because they are a little bit higher. In here, for example, they can jump from phrase to phrase, more natural. And in here, discrete simple elements into connected linear sequence of points, okay? Entonces, in here is vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation. If I'm talking about vocabulary and grammar, obviously the intonation, the pronunciation, the way I'm going to deal with the problems, how I'm going to clarify, and how I'm going to connect my ideas are part of the criteria they take into account to evaluate candidates. These standards are very similar to the can-dos I gave you the other day. For example, Pues below A1 does not reach standard for A1. Can make himself understood in a very simple way, asking and answering questions about personal details, provided the other person talks slowly and clearly and is prepared to help, can manage very short, isolated, mainly pre-packed utterances, much pausing to search for expressions. That means that they need time to prepare their answers, to articulate less familiar words, and so on with this. So if you compare these can-dos with the ones that I gave you from the Common European Framework of Reference, they are going to be very, very similar, okay? But this is another table. And yes, what we do is when we examine the lowest grade is 0. And I have given zeros just once in my life. I have been a speaking examiner for almost 14 years. Yes, my daughter is 13. 14 years, qué rápido. And in those 14 years, only once I gave a candidate a 0. Poor girl. She was in high school. We were in Pachuca. I will never forget the venue. And she came into the room and she was unable to say anything. She was blocked. She was in panic. And we are given a script. We read everything. For reliability and for fairness, we need to read them the script. We cannot say something that is out of the script. If we do, we can be penalized and we can be fined for the rest of our lives. Entonces, we are given the questions and we have the backup question. According to the rules, you need to make the normal question. If you see that the person is like not quite understanding or is like confused, you read the backup questions. And in the backup questions, you only have 1 or 2 questions. You are not allowed to tell the person, no te estoy preguntando que quién sabe qué, or invent a new question. Because in that case, if I help her, I'm not being fair with the rest of the candidates. Entonces ya, the validity of the exam ya is null. Entonces, pues that candidate, I was reading the backup questions, and from time to time I was looking at my partner, and the girl didn't say anything. Her friend was trying to help, but no, she was really, really nervous. Or I don't know if she didn't want to take the exam. And when they left, we needed to compare scores. And she told me, es que for her was the second time. For me, it was the first time. And I said, why this girl didn't say a word? O sea, she could barely answer her name and that's it, the personal information. But the rest of the questions, o sea, she was unable to say anything. I'm sorry, we needed to give her a 0 because she was not able to produce a word. And how can I evaluate all these things if they don't say a word? And I cannot neither say, ay, pobrecita cosita, la voy a ayudar, because that is out of the standards, ¿no? Entonces, pues in here, retaking something about the writing. Probably in writing, as you could see, we are like summarizing different abilities in just one piece of writing. We are including reading, because they are reading the instructions. we are including in such a way listening because they are using the vocabulary and the grammar they have been exposed to. We are evaluating vocabulary, grammar, spelling, etc. It's very general. So probably to give this kind of feedback, like in this, imagine for 40 or 20 students, it's impossible. But at least a short note like very, oh, good job, no? Good job. Please, darling. There are some grammatical, check the grammatical structures in your pieces of writing. It's important also to be careful with spelling. Handwriting is essential because you wrote such a nice piece of writing, but from time to time it was difficult to read it. But in general, the content of your piece of writing is very good. Very simple. Go to the straight, recognizing the strong points, telling her or him what are the weak points or characteristics, what are the things he needs to improve, and I close with something nice, the sandwich, okay? In general, and I don't need to give the feedback like this. A brief note. All right. In here, were you able to watch the video? Only tell me yes or no. If no, we can watch it now. Actually, we are going to watch it. A ver, el teacher Jorge, ¿qué dijo? La Miss Vero, sí. Yes, I always ask my students to write essays and try to do very clear information about their writing and give a specific feedback so they are able to follow up. Excelente. Aplauso para el teacher Jorge. Excelente, muy bien. Ok, dice Miss Vero que sí vio el video. Ok, Miss Vero. A ver, Miss Vero, porfa, tell me, what did you notice or what are your impressions about the class you observed in the video? While I open the in the chat, si quieres. I noticed they are Russian elementary level. This are learning past simple and comparative adjectives. They aren't very familiar with verbs in the past tense yet. They get confused at the moment of answering affirmative form with the verb in past. They continue using the base form. Ah, yes. Oh, pero fantástico, muy bien, excelente. They are Russians. And pues they are the typical teenagers, no? What the main aim of the class is working with and practicing comparatives. I guess the previous class was about comparatives because even in this activity they are using as a to compare as well. Entonces I'm going to ask you to watch the video and we are going to comment. Okay. Can you listen? A ver. I'm going to stop sharing.
No, it's not early. Okay, so now you have to.
¿Ahí se escucharon? Ok, excelente.
Stand up now, all. Stand up now. You will go around the classroom and you will ask each other this question. For example, and then you have to stay here. You will make a line. For example, number one will be the person who woke up the earliest today. And the last person will be who woke up the latest. Did you understand me?
Yes.
So you have to ask each other this question. When did you wake up? When did you wake up? You say, and then you stand here, okay? One by one. Did you understand me? Good. Start, please. No Russian. Okay, no Russian.
What time did you wake up?
Okay. Samantha, ask.
Kirill.
I woke up. Okay. Masha, I woke up fast, yeah?
8:30. And you?
Who will be the first? Who must be the first? Natasha, okay. Who will be the next? Who woke up later? Okay, stand, make up a line, yeah? Make up a line. Okay, so who will be next? No Russian, and then I. And then I. Come, Natasha, come here. Okay. So once again, you can ask once again if you forgot. Ask again. So I can't.
Samantha, did you wake up?
What time did you wake
What
up?
time did you wake up?
I woke up
I woke up.
at 7 o'clock.
Where should she go? Where is her place? Come. Okay. So,
What time did you wake up?
I always wake up at 7 o'clock.
not always, but today.
I woke.
Okay, what time did you wake up?
I woke at 7 o'clock.
I woke up.
I woke up at 7 o'clock.
Wake up today?
I woke up at 7 o'clock.
So, next to Dima, yeah?
I woke up at 9.
At 9.
9?
Okay, so you will be the last, yeah? Martin, what time did you wake up?
I woke up today at 8:30.
Good. So, Kirill, you're... Good. Okay. Now, who woke up the earliest? Who woke up the earliest? Natasha, say I.
I woke up the earliest.
Who woke up the latest?
I woke up the latest.
Good. Masha, what can you say? You and Samantha make up a sentence. I woke up.
I woke up.
So, did you wake up earlier than Samantha or later than Samantha? earlier. Okay.
Woke up is earlier than Samantha.
And Natasha? I woke
I
up.
woke up is
I woke up.
I woke up
Don't say is. I woke up later than.
than Natasha.
Good. Okay. What about Dima and Katya? Dima and Katya. Dima, can you say a sentence? So 7 and 7 o'clock. So I
woke
up.
then
How to say that?
I woke up
As
as
early.
early as
Katya. Katya, say the sentence about yourself. And Dima, I. Yes. I woke
I woke up as early
as early as
Dima.
Dima. Okay, good. So now, Masha and Natasha, you are a pair. You sit together. Dima and Samantha, you sit together. And you guys, group of 3, you sit together. Please, take your seats. Now, look.
So in general, if you were the teacher in this class, if they were your students, what would you tell them? What would you evaluate them? No feedback yet. What would be the evaluation? What aspects do you consider for their level and the capacities? What do you think are the items I need to evaluate in this group? Because they are very, very basic. Aha, pronunciation. Okay. Obviously, pues the use of vocabulary and grammar, no, which is comparatives and superlatives, no? The use of the adjectives. She needs to reinforce the topic because asking them to talk. They are not confident yet. Ajá. Bueno, también is the attitude. Probably that's why I don't like teaching teenagers too much. I'm more for children and adults than teenagers. I don't know why. But yes, even they go to one of the corners of the room, no? The classroom is really, really small, no? The space is limited. But they tend to go to one of the corners because that's their security area, no? Without saying it, just the body language and the way they behave, that is what gives them security. And as teacher Vero says, they don't feel comfortable yet, no? She's pushing them to use the structure, but this structure is not familiar yet for them. Okay. Would you evaluate something related to interaction? How did you see the interaction between them? Yes, you're right. Teenagers are more difficult to be open and speak as confident as they actually can. Opposite. Yes, they are more enthusiastic, no? And this body language of crossing their arms and head down and things like that. Ay, no, para mí me desespera, ¿no? Me deprimo con ellos. Entonces, probably this body language, interaction, maybe two eyes, the break the eyes or something like that. They may be, or they seem to be very familiar with each other. Mhm. There is no, I mean, they know each other, no? They are friends, no? But maybe the cultural fact is interfering here, no? All right. What I want you to do is to take your break. And while you are preparing your coffee or your glass of soda, I want you to think about the feedback. How would you provide the feedback if these kids were your students? What would you tell them? Okay? And you can write it in the chat or you can open them. Okay? Entonces we are going to have the break and I will see you in 10 minutes. Okay? Thank you. What would you tell them? Write in the chat or open your microphone as you wish. In both cases, while you write your answers, in both cases, it's really important to have the objective in mind. Know exactly from the very beginning what I'm going to be looking for. If I'm, in this case, for example, teacher Jorge says that he would work on pronunciation. If I'm going to work then in pronunciation, and they are going to receive constant feedback or correction from the teacher, like in this case, pues obviously I won't be working on fluency. Because the activity is really, really controlled and the teacher is guiding the activity, okay? Entonces, in that case, if I start correcting over and over, that what may happen probably is that the students may feel dismotivated, no? Entonces, for example, what I would say in this activity, okay, guys, very good. Excellent. Just remember to the following items, for example, the verb in past, no? And speak louder so I can listen to you. Or while they are performing the activity, I would make this movement that they need to raise their voice, because for me, their tone of voice was very, very low because they were shy, no? In here, there are many aspects to take into account, no? They are being recorded, probably they are very basic, the stage of life they are, etc., etc. So I need to take into account all these elements in order to provide the feedback. Entonces I would say, okay, nice try. Now, the following time, I will ask you to speak a little bit louder, because for me, sometimes it's difficult to check your pronunciation. Remember, today we are working with that, so I need to listen to you, okay? But in general, you did quite well. Positive, things to improve, and positive, the sandwich law, okay? Any questions or comments about providing feedback to our students and evaluation? Entonces, the secret here is to have very clear from the very beginning, since I'm planning my class, to have very clear the main aim, the objective of this specific activity, what I'm going to be focusing on, if it is going to be, if we are talking about the speaking activity, what are the sub skills I'm going to be evaluating, and share the aims with the students so they already know what I'm expecting from them, and have very, very clear, based on the international standards, the standards I'm going to adapt into my class, okay? Excellent, very good. So now, we are going to change totally the topic. Well, it's related, but in here we are going to talk about how we can group our students. These different interactional patterns we can have in our classes, okay? So today we will demonstrate an understanding of the key terms related to class interaction patterns, manage seating arrangements of pair and group work with fixed classroom seating, analyze the advantages and difficulties of different student groupings, okay? Do you normally use, or do you frequently use these different interactional patterns in your classes? Do you ask your students to work in pairs, trios, teams, super teams, small teams, etc.? Okay. And we know that there are thousands of funny activities we can use in order to group students, no? For example, pues I can have different pieces of yarn and hold them in the middle. And when they take one of the extremes of the yarn, when I release the yarn, they are linked, or they are holding the same piece of yarn, and though that person may be their mate, no? But I consider the idea of this Russian teacher as an excellent way to divide the students by reinforcing and enhancing the use of the grammatical structure we are working with. Because in this case, the purpose was to line up the students according to the times, the different times or schedules they have for getting up. And in that case, she could divide them into pairs and a wonderful trio. Teacher Jorge says, very often because the exercise require forming teams and interacting. Yes, sometimes in the book they say, no, get in pairs, get into small teams and discuss and do and blah, blah, blah. Or for the projects, no? Okay, I do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the students teaming in their classmates who have the same number. Okay, that's another one. Another variation for this lining up can be the month you were born, no? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, blah, December. Or the horoscopes. ¿Cuál es el primero? Pues es que depende. Creo que el first one, in the magazines, they always start with Aries, Taurus, no me lo sé, no me lo sé, no me lo sé, Scorpion y no sé qué, no sé cuánto, ¿no? So you line up your students or by heights, the tallest to the shortest, or the shortest to the tallest, and things like that. But this idea of incorporating the practice of the vocabulary and the grammatical structure in the activity or the dynamic I'm using to group students, I think is fantastic. So we are going beyond. But yes, any strategy we use is perfect, ¿no? Es así como YouTube, ya chole, ¿no? Ya too much. All right. Pues this grouping will depend on the activity. Not all the activities are designed to be managed in the same way. Or sometimes the activities are proposed in the book to be held in such a way, but my students may need something different. So probably I would need to make a change there. So I need to think of the main of activity and the aim, okay? And I want to remind you that we have two types of interactional patterns. Depending on the activity, the stage of the lesson and the aim, students and teachers can interact in two different ways. One can be among students and the teacher with the students, okay? So these patterns are going to be different, always obeying to the activity and the aim, okay? These are some examples of interactional patterns. Among students, I have working individually, closed pair, open pair, group work, mingled activities, whole class, and open class, okay? These are the different types of groups I can use in my class, okay? I divided them as according to the kind of practice they are going to have. Entonces, working individually, closed pair and open pair can be in the stage of very controlled activities. Semi-controlled can be group work and mingled activities. The teacher needs to be supervising the activities as well. The whole class and the open class are free. I would say that this is the freest, okay? So we are going to recall. Working individually was very simple. When the students are going to work on their own, they need to process, they need to reflect, they need to digest the vocabulary and grammatical structure they have just received. They need this type of introspection, meditation in order to internalize and process what they have been told. The closed pair work is when I'm going to ask two students in their seats work closely. They are not sharing anything with anyone else in the classroom. It's just you and me, okay? For example, if I find that my student or my students are so weak, they still need support and help from others, probably this internalization and process can be done in pairs and little by little make the transition to individually. Maybe in this case when they are super, hyper, very basic. Open pair work is, for example, you can have the students develop a role play they can pass in front of the classroom and they can perform for the rest of the class. But the participants are only these two guys, okay? Or they can be sitting in a circle in the classroom. They can be reading something or repeating something in pairs. They are performing something in front of others. So that is the difference. Closed, you and me. Open, I'm doing something with my partner and the rest of the class is listening to us, okay? Here in the group work, pues are teams, trios, groups of 4, 5, etc. And in here, bueno, I can have this mixed abilities team. In this mixed abilities team, I'm going to take into account the different abilities my students have. So how can I form teams in such a way that it is balanced? Normally, when I tell them you are going to work in teams, luego, hold the compadre, y yo con mi amigo, y yo con, no te vayas, vente para acá y corren de un lado para el otro, ¿no? Maybe what I can do for specific activities and depending on the aim of the activity, what I can do is before the session, plan my groups. Entonces, no, pues voy a tener a Manolo, Carlos, no sé, Jacaranda y Pedro en este team, because Pedro is a little bit low, but they are going to draw. Entonces, Pedro is, although he's very quiet, he's very good at drawing. And Jacaranda is very talkative. Entonces, probably is going to do a good job with Pedro. But on the other hand, I have, no sé quién dije, José o Manolo, no sé. These two guys are very, bueno, Manolo is very advanced, no? He manages very, very well the language, no? He understands a little bit more. And although he needs to improve, pues he tries, no? He's not shy. And the other guy, José o, no sé, Pietro or whoever, he is very good at organizing the others, no? He's the leader and he's a good guy. So probably he can deal with the personalities and organize the work they have to do in a very balanced form. Because what is another problem we can have or we can face? That Manolo knows that he knows, or he believes he knows, and instead of helping the others and being patient with others, what he's going to do is going to be desperate, he's going to be bad-tempered, and I'm going to have a problem there. No, they are going to be talking about something else, but not related to the class. Entonces I need to observe carefully the capacities, paying more attention to the abilities more than the disabilities. Always, always in positive. What is the what is a strong point in this group of students can have, or that can make a very well balanced group and do their best? So that is a mixed ability team, a team in which everybody is complementing each other, okay? Mingle activities is, for example, in a find someone who. They are walking around the classroom, talking to everyone talking at the same time. I find someone who, a survey, something like that, okay? So they need to interact, they need to walk, and the teacher is just like monitoring as well, listening to them, and they are, pues, yes, fulfilling the task, but not directly directed by the teacher. The whole class was all together, no? The students and the teacher are interacting, probably exchanging opinions, checking answers, discussing, setting the context, narrating experiences, etc., etc. An open class is when the students are interacting among them, but the teacher is not taking part of the activity. He is just listening to them, listens to them without interfering or participating, and then the teacher provides the feedback, okay? So this is to them and does not take part in the activity, okay? Entonces that's why I was saying that whole class and open class are totally free. That was the way I categorized these different interactional patterns, okay? Entonces, now that we have recalled the different interactional patterns I have, what is the one that you normally use in your classes? Which one is your favorite? I guess semi-control. And which one? Which one, teacher? Group work, mingle activities? Group work, okay. So it's also important to take into account this mixture of different abilities. También el teacher Jorge, perdón, dice que group work. Ajá, is the most typical one, no? But even they are working individually, pues there is a purpose, no? There is something they need to fulfill, okay? Very good. And now we mentioned something about the interactional patterns between the teacher and the students. In this case, pues, can be teacher to one student, when you are explaining, when you are providing feedback, etc., etc., when you are clarifying something directly to one of the students. Teacher students, that is also called lockstep. So in here, the teacher is in charge of the activity and the students are listening. Normally we have this lockstep when we are presenting, or when we are explaining things to the students, no? It's like the opposite of open class. In here, the ones who talk are the students and the teacher is quiet. In here, the teacher is talking and the students are quiet, okay? Can be also students, teacher, or students, okay? In here, remember that we says that it's these interactional patterns will obey on the activity and the aim of the activity. In here, for example, what I want to enhance, the TTT or the STT. TTT is teachers talking time. During this teachers talking time, what students are going to do is just listen. They are receiving, they are being immersed. And during the STT, students talking time, what they are going to be doing is practicing what the teacher gave them in this stage, okay? The teacher is listening and evaluating, okay? So these are two kinds of interaction. I say there are two: students, among students, and among the teacher and the students, okay? Easy or difficult or tricky? Okay, very good, teacher Jorge, eso me gusta. So try to use this kind of interactional patterns as well. All of them have the advantages and disadvantages, of course. And maybe we can discover that by using these different patterns, we are promoting something that probably we haven't discovered yet, okay? All right, but not everything is happiness in the classroom. We can also deal with some difficulties. And these are some of the difficulties we can face when working in teams and using these different interactional patterns. So certain learners dominate the others. See, the bossy ones. Learners are resistant because they are worried about each other's mistake. Maybe because they think that los mistakes son como los piojos que se pegan. Or maybe because they don't want to commit mistakes in front of others, okay? Some learners are shy or not confident about speaking. Learners are of mixed abilities. In here, for example, we were saying that we need to use mixed ability teams. But this is planned. I decided to put Juanelo, Joselo, Manolo, y Ana working together because they have specific characteristics that are going to make this team strong. But if just say, I just say, no sé, metan la mano, take a tip. Ya me acordé, la fichita es un tip. ¿Se acuerdan de leathers and snakes? That I didn't remember the word. It's a tip. Even you can use your ring as a tip. So you can, or el frijolito is also a tip. Okay? Entonces, take a tip, and if you have the same color, that's your team. ¿No? Entonces, in here, pues is random, ¿no? It's lucky, how lucky you are, ¿no? It's a game, but in here, and this may cause a problem because you can have 3, Manolo, Joselo, y Carlos can be very strong, y la pobre de Ana is very shy, entonces pues, se la van a comer, ¿no? Entonces I have a problem, yes? Entonces, if I want to avoid this, I can, depending on the aim, I can plan the groups or simply do it like this, but I need to be very, very careful, no? If it is more relaxed, no sé, un game or something simple. Learners speak in their mother tongue, very typical. Class becomes too noisy, and learners are used to working together. Entonces, in here, we have the difficulties, but also we have the solution. Entonces, certain learners dominate the others. You need to observe the students. Again, observation. Why does this boy or girl behave like that? Is because they have a higher level? Or is because they are bored, they are tired? Or is something about their personality. Because the person can be really, really bossy. And that is the personality. I cannot change that. It's the way the person is. Probably she would need to regulate, not to change totally. They can regulate the behavior, but not change it. And sometimes this behavior obeys to something, I don't know, related to their development as a person. Probably they are always trying to be noticeable because they have a very low self-esteem. And just by showing off or liking the teacher or pretending to be the teacher's pet, it's the way they feel secure and accepted, no? Entonces, I need to observe. And based on the observation, after detecting what's the problem, entonces I'm going to talk to the person directly. I'm going to give some strategies, or probably I will ask the student to work with certain group of people. I don't know. I will be able to help the student and the rest of the students, because normally these people are rejected, no? They are not very well accepted. Learners are resistant because they are worried about each other's mistakes. Entonces, from the very beginning, we need to let the students know that these mistakes are proof that they are trying, that they are in the process of learning. There's nothing wrong if I have a mistake, okay? Some learners are shy or not confident about speaking. Pues I need to give them support, be monitoring constantly, guide them, help them, give them hints, prompting, pair them with someone who doesn't dominate them. Someone who may help them, who is eager to provide that support they need. And this is a very good strategy. Give them time to prepare what they will say. For example, if they are going to describe a picture, if you tell them, okay, guys, you are going to describe this picture, okay? I'm going to give you 1 minute to observe the picture and make notes. Make notes, parentheses. Note making is also a training for writing, okay? Entonces, make notes, write keywords, and then you are going to work in pairs and you are going to describe by using your notes as a guide, okay? Entonces, you take your chronometer, they just have an exact minute, they prepare their answer, and then they perform. For example, in IELTS and Lingua Skill exams for Cambridge, they have this system because the exams are online. And so you are given a minute to prepare your answer, and then you have 1 or 2 minutes to talk, okay? So it's valid. The learners are of mixed abilities, be sensitive, makes them higher, medium, and low. Also, take into account the aim, the learning outcome. In advance, you know who are the low, the medium, and the higher. Entonces, for example, if they need to describe, no sé, if they need to describe what they did yesterday, pues the standard is to make a sentence, mentioning or saying an action they did yesterday. Just like that. Subject, verb, and complement. That's it. I ate pizza. I ran in the park. I slept early, something like this, ¿no? Entonces, that is the medium. The higher student may be able to say, or probably I may ask him, what did you do yesterday? I ate pizza. And I say, what did you have for drinking? Pues I drank soda. Entonces I'm extending the answer the student is able to give me according to his capacities. Okay? Entonces this medium goes to higher. And in the same team, okay, you, what did you do yesterday? Because I know that he's struggling in accommodating and allocating and organizing the words to make a complete sentences. If he gives me a phrase, it's perfect, because the expected learning outcome is a full sentence. Entonces, if he says, I ate or ate pizza, it's okay. I'm not going to push him or to say, no, I told you that you needed to write a, no. If he's in the process and he says, eat pizza, okay, excellent. Repeat, I ate pizza. Repeat, I ate pizza. Okay, so now, what did you drink? Prompting by using mimic. I drank soda. And I'm pushing this student to step into the medium. There will be students who accomplish the medium. Okay, entonces the next time I'm going to ask them to step to the higher level. And this higher level, I'm going to ask them to go to the following step. Entonces, I'm helping them to go upstairs. That is scaffolding, okay? Variety them. High students are not always patient because they know everything. Entonces, help your partners. And si para ellos help the partners, just give them their notebook for them to copy the answer. No, so you need to train them. You need to tell them exactly what you want them to do, and check the personality, or simply use mingles. If you notice that your group is really different, that you have you have the extremes, pues use mingles, no? And little by little start working on the abilities they need to have to work in teams. When they are speaking Spanish, prepare students so they have enough vocabulary to deal with the task. So probably what we can do is to have a pre-activity. No, normally when they are going to speak, pues they are introduced with the vocabulary or the grammatical structure. In this case, for example, what you can do is to give them the words and the expressions and all the ingredients they will need in order to do well in the speaking activity. Ask them to use language appropriate to their level. Remind them that they already have words and grammatical structures in their language bag, in their brain, in their cabinets. So they should use them, okay? In this case, I need to be checking if my students are really solving the task or if they are ventaneando, no? If they are gossiping. If they are really using English, Spanish to work or if they are talking about something else. Entonces, if I catch them that they are organizing a party instead of organizing their work, pues invite them to go back to the task. And if, for example, they are discussing, trying to clarify something, or they are like, they are using L1 in order to solve something related to the task, it's okay. This is neutral. It's acceptable. But invite them next time to use L2. Okay, it's not always the use of the Spanish is forbidden. Okay. And when the class is very noisy, no, when they are very enthusiastic and they are feeling very relaxed and happy, pues we may have problems with the teacher next door, and he can be very mad and call the principal. Yeah, the principal will come and tell us, what are you doing? This mess, no? Entonces, first of all, we need to keep the idea that if there is noise in our classroom, it's because they are working. Something is going on in the classroom. Learning is taking place. So because of this, our job, instead of quieting our students, is to monitor the activity and supervising that they are really doing what they are expected to do. And well, as part of the rules or as part of the instructions I'm going to give them at the beginning of the activity, what they need to know is that they need to be using a correct volume of voice so they don't interrupt the other classes, no? I can use, for example, a stoplight, like a semaphore. For them, I can have my green light if they are doing well, amber or orange if I listen to them that they are raising a little bit the noise. So it's a warning for them to continue talking like that. And a red one if, yeah, the volume is exceeding the expectations, no? So can be something like that, or flags. I don't know, whatever you decide, no? Or drawing a speaker, big speaker if it is very noisy, a small speaker if they are even, can be the opposite. The problem as the Russian kids, no? They are using a very low volume of voice. And in here, learners are not used to working together, no? Because of whatever, they never work in teams because, I don't know, they don't like it, there are lots of problems, whatever, pues I need to tell them about the importance of having these activities. Remind them that apart from teaching them English, we are providing them with practical tools they may use in the real life, no? In real life, they will need to work in teams with other co-workers. If they are going to go to, if they are in high school and if they are going to go to college, but probably they will need to work in teams. So that is necessary. If they are not used to, and you are not used to use this group working, pues little by little, try it. Include it as a part of your personal aims. Share the main aim with activities. So they know exactly the purpose of working in teams and why not is not, in this case, individual work possible, no? For example, when I'm teacher, I love teamwork. And when I'm working, for example, with partners, I love or I like group work, bueno, depending. Pero if I'm a student, no, I don't like it. Así como que me choca. Entonces we need to know the personality as well, no? And when we provide the feedback, apart from telling them or mentioning the good things they did while developing the activity related to the management of language. Also, we can provide this feedback related to this soft skill, no, of working together. So I'm going to share this graphic organizer. I found this online and I thought that this tool would be very, very useful. I really liked it. I did it like in form of list, but you have different graphic organizers. You have mental map, is like organigrammas, lists, and you have different colors like this. So for me, it's very nice. And you can invite your students to collaborate, or also you can share, okay? Because I'm going to share this platform with you, okay? All right. Any questions, comments so far about the advantages and disadvantages of working and grouping students? No? Do you like the ideas? Do you think they are going to be useful? Or do you have any other difficulty? Always foresee the situation and be prepared. And if you consider that some of these aspects should be taken into account as part of the rules or the instructions, okay? All right. Now, depending also on the aim of the activity, the purpose of the activity and the interactional patterns, I'm going to use in my class. I'm going to ask my students to sit in different forms. Also, I can have some advantages and disadvantages. Mainly because we don't have enough time for moving the chairs and the tables constantly. The school or the principal doesn't like us to move the chairs. They are very noisy. The space is very limited. But we are going to explore the possible seating arrangements and the kind of activities we can carry with our students. My personal opinion about the teacher's desk is that the teacher should never be in front. I don't like this. Me, I prefer to have my desk here at the very back, because the desk is only to place my things and I need to be moving around.
Moving around the classroom.
Maybe
I always do
because
that.
es que I'm kinesthetic. Aparte con mi TDA, pues no me puedo estar sentada.
My students ask to me, teacher, do you ever sit down? Because I never sit. I'm always standing up, moving around the classroom.
What is the advantage of this? Bueno, let's pretend that here where I have the title is the blackboard. So in here, what the teacher can do freely or can be doing freely is walking, is listening constantly to the students. The students just raise their hand and the teacher así runs like flash to help them, no? And in here, pues the activity is controlled because they are working in teams. I can set them up according to these mixed abilities. Entonces, probably Manolo and Joselo will help Anita y Jacaranda jugar a little bit lower, no? And so on. What is the disadvantage? I like this sitting arrangement, but imagine that I'm going to make a presentation these students, no le veo aquí su carita, pero the face is looking at this student. Ajá.
Teacher, sorry to
Entonces-
interrupt. I don't know if it's just me, but I cannot see your screen.
No. Can you see my screen? Teacher Jorge, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see that.
Yes. Ay, gracias, teacher Vero. No, yo creo que es tu compu, Miss Olivia.
Okay, teacher. I'm gonna check here.
Arriba, dice pantalla, de tu pantalla dice pantalla. A ver, ahí muévele, te van a salir como 100%, 50%. Ahí ajustale hasta que te salga lo que tienes que ver. Si no me avisas.
Okay.
All right. Entonces, aquí, pues if I'm making the presentation, these students are going to be like the exercise, ¿no? Así like twirling their necks. Or maybe if we are going to have a whole class activity, this student is only making eye contact with these 3 students, and he cannot properly see correctly and interact with these 4 students and these 4 students. So probably when they are working, especially on a project, they are doing something así very specific in teams, they can sit like this, okay? I have the traditional sitting arrangement, no, where the teacher is the one and the only one in front. This is the whiteboard, and the students in lines, quiet, and obeying is the teacher, no? In my case, I would move my table here. No les estorbo. And I would be walking around the classroom. I prefer monitor 3 teams than monitoring 12 individual students. And even if I have the opportunity of having them all together, pues it's just one team and I'm observing all of them, no? Me. This one pues is very appropriate when it's individual work, we are having an exam, we are reading, we are analyzing, etc., etc. So very, very controlled. Or when I want them to be focused on what I'm presenting in front. If I'm projecting something or if I'm delivering a presentation. In here, pues lockstep, no? Definitely. This horseshoe is my super, super favorite in the world. Why? Because the students have eye contact with the rest of the class. We are looking at each other. They are sitting in teams, so I can have pairs. And a wonderful trio, que always happens. Okay, I don't want pairs, que quiero individuals, pues otra vez, go back to your place. Que no quiero like this, I want teams. Entonces, a ver, move your chair like this and like this, no? The same here. I que no quiero teams. A discussion, pues everybody can listen to everybody. And the teacher, ya saben, la mesa aventada por acá. The teacher here. Y la teacher can be here in the middle, organizing, regulating the activity as a referee here, or simply monitoring behind, providing help, okay? Yes. And, bueno, I always sit in the middle. Aquí. Okay. This is my favorite one. Even she can talk to him and so on. Imagine that I have my individuals, no, the rows, the traditional sitting arrangement. Pues difficult if I want them to have pairs, pues estos dos, no? Like this. Y luego this with this. Y luego this with this. Y es un movedero de bancas espantoso. And I only have 50 minutes. Entonces, that's why this one definitely, pues, I wouldn't use it. But if I don't have another option and they are sitting like this, pues probably that would be the way I will mix my students, no? These two, these two, these two, 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 these two, and these two, ¿no? Y la teacher en medio que me choca, ¿no? La teacher aquí y la teacher monitoring. What is the problem here? Not enough space for walking. And also, remember that we need to take care of, or we very careful with this, esto de protección civil. So in case of an emergency, pues the students in here, it's going to be very difficult for them to leave the classroom. In here, for example, also, sometimes the tables are very big, no? And I cannot move them. Entonces, probably pairs like this or like this. Here, and maybe like this. Pero si este quiere salir por aquí, pasa encima de este, ¿no? Y si se quiere salir por acá, pues tampoco puede, ¿no? Entonces, pues, I would arrange the tables like this, here and here. I have plenty of space. And the teacher again here, so the teacher can be monitoring and providing support. No, even for the teacher, no, it's difficult to walk around the classroom in here. And bueno, the interactional patterns, they can ask and answer, look at each other, even the teacher can be presenting something. They can ask, a ver, Juanito, ask Manolo, y Manolo, ask, no sé, Petunia, y Petunia, ask Jacaranda, y Jacaranda le contesta a Manola, ¿ok? Entonces, pues, these are the interactional patterns, the sitting arrangements as well, that this sitting arrangement totally obeys to the kind of interactional patterns my students will have between them and with the teacher, okay? Easy or difficult? Comments, which sitting arrangement is your favorite? Are you allowed to move your chairs in your classroom? Or you are not?
Yes, we are. Well, in my
Yes.
Mexico, we are. We just need to put them back where they were.
Okay.
And well, in my classroom, the problem is that the space is very limited for the number of students. But anyways, I do pair work, a lot of pair work, because they have tables and those are for 2 chairs. So I use pair work basically because of that. But I also like to put them to work in groups with mixed abilities. I like that one very much.
Okay. In general, the disadvantage is that it takes time, no? To put them in teams and then putting them back in their places. But we don't have tables and the classroom is very small. You have these chairs, individual chairs. And sometimes those chairs, las típicas de la escuela, pues are very difficult to move, especially when you want to make teams, no? porque la paleta no cuadra. Entonces you only can have like kind of circles. And if they want to leave, pues se tienen que mover y ya chocaron con el de atrás y ay no, es un show, pero bueno. And yes, I don't know why I imagine your classrooms como así totally white. And no sé, sometimes I imagine them with very large white chairs, very heavy. And you have like rows, pero the space between the rows is very limited. Entonces sometimes walking around the classroom is quite difficult. Even you cannot reach the student at the end of the table. I don't know why I have always imagined your classrooms like this. Okay, more or less. Ya ven, he estado ahí, me han visto. That's another ability I have to go and observe. Okay, so we are going to finish with the mocks, okay? I think that we haven't done 14. Creo que no hemos hecho ni la 14. Bueno, la 15 is part of this exercise. 16, I don't know if we have done the 16, yo creo que sí.
No.
Esta no, 16 no. Por eso yo decía que no lo hemos hecho. Entonces, nos falta la 14, la 16, la 17 es así, ¿no? Ah, no, ese es grouping. 17.
No, 17 no.
18 tampoco, ¿verdad?
No. Hicimos la 19.
19. Y ya, hasta ahí. Ok. Bueno, entonces, let's see. Let's go to page 14, okay? So it says. All right, it says, for questions 48 to 54, match the learner's comments with the teacher's trainer's comments listed A to H. Entonces, and here you have the trainer's comments and the student's comments, okay? So you have 6 minutes. Ready? Excellent. Be ready? Okay, so let's check, okay? Don't worry if you haven't finished. Okay, it says 48. We like listening to songs, but the ones in the book aren't very good. No one wants to listen to them or sing them. So in this case, the answer is letter F. Encourage your learners to suggest or bring material they would like to use in class. Okay? Then, there are some learners who are planning to do an exam soon and their teacher only focuses on the language they need. In this case is letter D, D as dinosaur. Make sure you include materials and activities which are useful to everyone, okay? Now, 50. The teacher spends a lot of time writing things up on the board and then we all have to copy it down. The answer in here is H. H as in hotel. If you have a lot of information you want to give the learners, consider putting it on a handout which you could photocopy for them, okay? Then, I don't like talking in front of everyone else because I know their English is better than mine. 51 is letter G, create a supportive atmosphere where learners see making mistakes as part of their learning process. Then, I realize, no es cierto, the tasks are all good, but it gets a bit boring sometimes to learn something new. Then practice it with a writing exercise and then read something. It's 52 is letter A as in apple. Try to vary the order and type of activities you use in your classroom. I realize it's important that we know the answers, but I think we spend too much time correcting exercises every day. 53 is letter C as in cookie. Consider collecting in some of the work the learners have done to mark outside class time, okay? And finally, 54, the teacher just reads the answers from the book. He doesn't accept any different answers that we suggest. In here, 54 is B. Remember to listen carefully to how the learners say things. They may be given suitable alternatives and should be encouraged. Okay, entonces I'm going to repeat the answers. It's 54F, 59V, 50H, 51G as in garden, 52A apple, 53C cookie, and 54B baby. Okay? Easy or difficult? Oh, more or less easy. Very good. Ahora, let's go to page 16. Match the trainer's comments with the teacher's role as a language resource. Ah, no, esta no, porque esta es de mañana. Esta no, esta es de mañana. Grouping learners, esta de grouping learners. Number 17, it says, for question 62 to 67, choose the best option to complete each statement about ways of grouping learners. Okay? Entonces, I'm going to give you another 6 minutes. Ready? Ok. Vamos a ver, dice. The teachers moves from choral drilling to group drilling to individual drilling for a structure because 62. A, she wants to build learners, exactly, confidence when using the structure, okay? Is what we normally do in a presentation, in an oral visual presentation. Before learners start a paired feedback activity, the teacher tells them they will give peer feedback afterwards because exactly. She wants learners to listen carefully to each other. Okay. 64. After planning a writing task as a whole class, the teacher asks the learners to write the first paragraph on their own because no. B, she wants to make sure all learners attempt their task. A ver, vamos a ver. Dice, after planning a writing task as a whole class, all together, the teacher asks the learners to write the first paragraph on their own. She wants to check that they use their own ideas. Using their own ideas could be a name for a writing, collaborative writing. I don't think, and very good. She wants stronger learners to write the longer text. Pues en ningún momento dice que después the weak students are going to continue. O sea, they are going to be, it's going to be collaborative, ¿no? The whole class, todos juntos. Entonces, pues, yes. Aquí el keyword es eso, ¿no? Como preguntarse, do I consider this fact as part of the evaluation? Okay. Luego, 65, the teacher puts learners into mixed ability groups to do a grammar exercise because excellent, Miss Vero. Stronger learners may benefit from explaining the answers. And also that's another, it's another way to sell the idea to these advanced students. No, you are practicing your speaking. No, entonces pues, it's just trying to convince the students and explain them why it is important for us that they practice. Okay, luego dice, the teacher puts learners of similar ability into small groups to do a gap-filled task because no sé si me preguntó o me contestó pero ya no vi si es B o A. A ver, otra vez, aquí tenemos, eso me gusta. Dice, the teacher puts learners of similar ability into small groups to do a gap-filled task because she wants weaker learners to work out the answers for themselves. Or she wants all the groups to finish at the same time. In here in 66 is letter A. They want to work out the answers for themselves. What is the purpose of finishing at the same time? Even that is impossible in real life. Okay, excellent, very good. Luego, the teacher asks each of the learners who are working on a project together to do part of the project presentation because oh, excellent, Miss Vero. And here is letter C. She wants to encourage a sense of responsibility among learners. So this, do you remember when we mentioned flipped classroom? That they do something related to the lesson at home and they prepare this part to bring it to be prepared for the following lesson. Pues in here, we are not talking about speaking abilities porque they are doing something in advance. And some learners lack confidence. Pues no, more or less, more than lack of confidence is could be lack of responsibility, no? And here we are talking about the responsibility, okay? Y luego, did we do the 18? ¿Sí hicimos la 18? No.
No.
No, okay, entonces 18. For questions 68 to 73, match the method of correction with the feature's purpose, okay? Entonces, to encourage the use of peer feedback, to give the class an understanding of the natural order, to provide a quick way of checking an exercise for the whole class, to help a learner with a language difficulty that is not common to the whole class, to remind learners of the pattern of the presented stress, for signal in an oral activity that a learner has used the wrong word, or to develop learners' ability to edit and proofread the wrong word, okay? So 6 minutes. Ready? So let's check. Okay, so you can go to rest. No, not yet. Okay, 1 more minute. Eco correction is, for example, when everybody is repeating. A ver, si quieren, ahorita vemos, ¿ok? Para no que no la vaya yo a regar, ¿ok? Tampoco. Entonces dice, ok, don't worry, dice, the teacher underlines but does not correct mistakes on each learner's written dialogue. In here is letter G as garden, to develop learners' ability to edit and proofread their own work. Okay? Luego, the teacher claps out for the class a regular rhythm while repeating a line from a dialogue. 69 is E as elephant, to remind learners of the pattern of the sentence stress. Luego, 70. The teacher eco-corrects a learner questions. Number 70. F, to sign in an oral activity that the learner has used the wrong word. Ah, okay. Entonces, when you are making the oral visual presentation, without exposing, if you spot that a student is having the mistake, that's why during this drilling, you need to be checking, ¿no? Entonces you spot that someone says, she cans en lugar de she can. Entonces you say, everybody, she can, again, she can, again, she can, okay? You are not directly correcting the mistake. You are drilling in chorals, so the student says, ay, híjole, se me chispoteó. Okay? Yes? All right. Luego, the teacher arranges to give individual feedback with a learner. That is letter D, to help a learner with a language difficulty that is not common to the whole class, okay? So it's individual feedback. Luego, the learners exchange written work before it is given to the teachers to the teacher for marking. 72 is letter A, to encourage the use of peer feedback. If you have any questions, let me know, okay? Luego, the learners shout out the answers to a true-false exercise, and the teacher writes the correct answer on the board. 73 is letter C, to provide a quick way of checking an exercise for the whole class. Entonces, I repeat. 68 garden, 69 elephant, 70 flower, 71 dinosaur, 72 apple, 73 cookie. Okay? Easy or difficult? And I think that with this, we are only missing the 16. That is the one that we are going to do tomorrow. Okay? Entonces, Tomorrow, we are going to analyze, así very quickly, the teacher's role based on a lesson plan, okay? And then we are going to have our mock test, okay? So any questions, whatever, ya saben, let me know. And in some minutes, I will be uploading a class, okay? Be checking please check the chat because I'm going to ask you. I would like to close the class with an activity. Entonces, I'm going to ask you to bring a piece of paper, a paper sheet. So you can do the activity with me and then share it with me in the classroom, okay? So I will let you know in the chat. So if there are no questions, no comments, pues I would say thank you very much. Have a beautiful night. And I will see you tomorrow in the last class, okay? Have a nice night. See you tomorrow. You're welcome. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, teacher. Bye.
Thank you.
Teacher,
Bye.
see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Teacher, in the morning you have the same plan, right, for the class?
Yes.
Because tomorrow I'm probably gonna take it in the morning.
Okay, excellent. Yes, exactly the
Okay,
same.
teacher. See you
That's-
tomorrow.
Bye. Miss Olivia,
Yes, miss.
tomorrow we are going to start at 9,
Okay.
not at 8. Porque
Okay.
some teachers have class at 8 o'clock.
Yes.
That's the problem, okay?
Okay. So
All
we
right.
go tomorrow, gonna take the class from 9 to 12.
9 to 12, because we have already finished, okay?
Perfect,
Okay.
teacher. See you tomorrow
Thank
then.
you. Bye. Bye.